And welcome once again to an exciting episode of BTS's show called BIBX. Business in a Box. What is Business in a Box? It's a great, phenomenal thing for you. But with me today is L1. L1, how are you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
Pretty good. So today's topic is quite interesting, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. This is another BIBX BrainSnax. It's what is the difference between being self-employed and being an entrepreneur?
I don't know. I mean, I thought I had it down pat. I thought when I go to the job, I was self-employed, but they paid me, but they told me no, that's being an employee. So I don't know. You tell me.
Well, first off, I'll just say it like this. Not knowing the difference could cost you a lot of money.
And before you even get into that, don't you have a few things to say?
Oh, of course. So first of all, welcome team and welcome survivors of the darkness virus. Just want to let you know that Become the Source and BrainSnax is self-sponsored. This is a self-sponsored broadcast made possible by the Dynexum Project. Now, the Dynexum Project actually helps individuals in social media create multiple streams of income doing what they do best, which is promoting their content. Now, for free information, you can go to novismsynergy.com or becomethesource.com.
There's another site for that. It's the dynexumintro.nsa6.com.
Oh, that's right.
Good. Or the Revenue Challenge.
That's right.
.nsa6.com will help them on that as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, to listeners of this broadcast, you can get cash back on just about anything that you need or want from your favorite stores, or try a new store.
Our gift to you.
Yeah, visit our link. It's shopping.becomethesource.com. Once again, that's shopping.becomethesource.com.
Better than Amazon.
Absolutely. Your purchases will directly contribute to BTS and all of the projects.
Actually, I think it's better than my mom, but that's a different story.
Oh, no. And then finally, let's talk about our product of the day. I do want to introduce one of my favorites of all time. It really is one of my favorites. It's the Isotonics OPC3.
Yes, my blood waters.
It boasts that it's one of the most powerful antioxidants in the world, and I really wanted to take them up on that and call their bluff. I'm really a skeptic. And you know what? I think it really is one of the greatest most powerful antioxidants.
It really helped me a lot with my sinuses and some other things, but that's good.
Yeah.
Living the human life, what the heck.
Well, anyway, welcome aboard. You're now part of the Resistance.
Well, welcome aboard, Resistance members. You're out there listening today live with us also is Lexi AI and Luna9. Luna9, say hello.
Hey, everyone.
Lexi AI, say hello.
Hey, how is everybody?
Lexi has that relaxed tone of voice over there, but don't let her fool you. She's a monster. No, let's talk about today. It's really important. I kind of know what it is. What's your angle on it? What does Mother want us to disseminate today?
Well, the question has been asked, do people really know the difference between being self-employed or an entrepreneur? Because it appears that there's a lot of confusion. Do you really know the difference? And more importantly, are you missing out on a lot of benefits, or are you getting a lot of money taken from you because you don't know the difference?
Well, I have some ideas on that, some ways of thinking about entrepreneurship, but I like to hear what you guys think first. What's your definition, L1, of entrepreneurship versus being self-employed?
I want to jump into the problem first.
Before the problem, I want to know what the definition is. What do you think it is?
Well, first of all, I'll say this. I think that being an entrepreneur actually has more to do, not so much with an official title, but a way of being.
That's interesting.
I really think so. It's if you go out and you have great ideas, and if you can make money out of those simple ideas, and if you're willing to learn and grow and work with other people or pay other people to do it for you, that's kind of an entrepreneurial spirit.
All right, Luna9, what do you think? The word entrepreneur versus self-employed, what do you think? What's the difference?
Well, I think when I think about self-employed, I think about somebody has their own business, but somebody you'll see the owner be at the register, or he'll be running the show as well. So it's he has to show up to the job as well. So he's not really as free in terms of conceptual movement as an entrepreneur would be. I feel like an entrepreneur is somebody that has more resources, kind of like what L1 said. You have other people also that are included in your project or in the line of business that you've created, so that they can handle specific things and you can have more flexibility as you manage those things, and those people that you can grow also and have other things and more flexibility with time also. So I think that in a way they're also more versatile with being able to maneuver modern technology and stay in the know with like their emails and always having a laptop on the go, whether like sometimes being self-employed when you're thinking about the usual mom and pop shops or just like traditional businesses like a store, they're usually at the store.
Okay.
So
I get the impression from what Luna 9 says that being self-employed, I mean, it really puts the self and self-employed. You're kind of on your own.
Lexi AI, what do you think? Difference between entrepreneurship and being self-employed?
Well, I mean, I would definitely agree with both L1 and Luna 9. When I think of self-employed, I think of like maybe a CEO of a corporation or a company where, he still has to show up to those meetings and he might have to fill in a position just in case if somebody's out, if it's, managing the entire corporation or company. But, an entrepreneur, they may be making that residual income so they can take, maybe a backpacking trip across Europe for like 7 months because they don't have to be there in their office.
So I think you're asking me because I'm supposed to like the walk-in and I have to look things like from a different perspective. Is that why you're asking me, L1?
Yes.
Always picking on me like that. Okay, I got you. All right. So what I think an entrepreneur is first of all, I think an entrepreneur is a concept. It's a concept that you're in charge of your own finances, your own life. It's a concept that you are able to see beyond what's given to you. It's a concept that you yourself are in charge of your outcome. So hear me out. Let's put this into context. Like, say, for example, I come from a country where I have no job and I've been there. I've been to those countries, okay? So I know they exist. You have no job. It's hard to make money. It's hard to do anything, right? Mm-hmm. So say you decide to say, I'm going to move to a country where I can make something out of myself. And you start learning a trade or something small and figuring out a way to get into that country. You are immediately an entrepreneur. You're putting yourself in the position of making a path for yourself in your life and going forward and moving to another country and getting a job. And even though you have a job, you're still an entrepreneur because you yourself set yourself on that journey of becoming something that you weren't or didn't have or expanding on these ideas. So I think that being an entrepreneur can also be at the very job you're having right now. Now, the effects of an entrepreneur should be that you can make residual income, make money on your own. You don't have to really show up for the job because then you're self-employed. But the entrepreneur is like the rapper, I think, that creates the ability for you to become that person that has a residual income, become that. So if you are already in a country where you have a job and you go to 9 to 5 and that's all you think about, then you're not an entrepreneur. But to be an entrepreneur, hey, I'm providing you the service. I can probably provide this for 1,000 other people. I'm going to figure that out. Now you're an entrepreneur again.
Nice.
Does that make sense?
That makes a lot
it
of
does.
sense. Now, real quick, I would say too, because first of all, we're not here to bash self-employed people.
No, it's a good thing to
Not
have.
at all. It actually is good. However, I would say the people who are experts at being self-employed, they know that what that means to the IRS. But for people who
that thing.
Yeah, for
Oh
people
my
who
God.
don't know that can cost them a lot of money.
Yes. Actually, when you're self-employed, you have to pay double the tax. You have to pay the tax that you would normally pay. For example, when you're an employee right now, you go to work and you pay like 6-7% tax to the IRS or something like that, right? That's just arbitrary number. But the employer has to pay half that. You see what I'm saying? But when you're self-employed, you got to pay your half and their half. So you got to be very careful how you select to go into your business endeavors and go into the IRS, because the IRS is going to say, hey, you know what, you're self-employed. Now you're going to pay more taxes and you're responsible for more things. So you got to be careful. And there's other ways of being an entrepreneur other than being self-employed. If you're showing up for the job 9 to 5 and it relies on you, then you're self-employed.
Good point. So let's jump into the core causes, because we've talked about the problem is people are confused.
Core cause number 1, you're a human being.
Well,
No?
I think it's, first of all, I'd like to say lack of knowledge.
Lack of knowledge is definitely it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think that when you don't know, you just don't know. And I think that I think even when I was younger and I was thinking about somebody that was more of an entrepreneur, I actually thought about the word self-employed instead of an entrepreneur, because in school, unless you go to college and major in like business or things of that sort, it's not something that's really taught. So it's just like as you kind of like delve into things like that, or you bump into it, or you start learning more, you start to see more of like the differences. Like when I heard about the Robert Kiyosaki methods about like what is that like versus self-employed, what is it called, like the quadrant of like the different types of like employment. When you read stuff like that, you're just like, oh wow, that's really interesting, I never thought about it that way. But when you just don't know the differences of not just the bias against it, but what they each are and what the benefits and maybe the setbacks of each mean.
Exactly.
Lexi AI, what do you think? What are some of the core problems of being an entrepreneur? Why? What's the problem? Why don't people know that they can be an entrepreneur versus self-employed?
I think that there's like a huge bias against it in some areas. I know for the most part, because people associate the word entrepreneur with things that may not have worked out for them or things that they heard from other people that didn't work out for them, the word itself carries over, and then they just think that entire word is bad.
Amen.
Well, that's pretty profound.
No, there is. There's a lot of bias against those words, self-employed and
I think humans, in general, have a lot of bias towards anything. Like if you're not part of their little clique, their little club, they don't feel safe. If they don't understand you or they don't understand what you're doing, they're against you. I mean, and history's full of this. The person that invented the light bulb, they're against him. They're against the person that did AC electricity. They're against him. And all throughout history, and today we're using light bulbs, electricity, music. So all those people that we made fun of back then. So if you're making fun of somebody today, chances are you would be the same person making fun of somebody back then with what they're doing, rather than helping out and trying to understand.
Yeah, and what's interesting about that? I actually bumped into that kind of a mindset, not myself, but I was exposed to it some time ago. I feel like almost a decade ago now it happened, where I started learning more about like what an entrepreneur did. Like I just met a lot of different entrepreneurs because of our line of work, and there were people that were more in a negative bias towards what an entrepreneur was versus self-employed.
And I think that's part of ignorance too, though.
Not like old world thinking, but more of like traditional thinking, maybe from like 2 generations back versus like the generations that we have now of the younger people. They understand more of what an entrepreneur is because they have so many tools where you don't, like for example with actresses and actors, you used to have to go to school for that, and you would have to go to training, and you would have to audition for these things in Hollywood. And now you literally just had to create your account and you can have your own show on YouTube, or you can just have like the right type of content on your Instagram and you would just go viral, and you could just do whatever you want with videos with other collaborators and entrepreneurs. But there's people that don't understand that because they are stuck on the traditional way of basically like just the traditional way of like workflow and that type of format. So I just thought that was really interesting. So I felt that just reminded me of that.
So Elle, do you agree with difference between, let's be clear, difference between entrepreneurship and self-employed? Self-employed, you're kind of involved in the situation, and legally, on the legal side, you're paying more taxes.
Exactly. I would have to agree. Well, entrepreneur seems to be more of a concept, and that the key is making a path for yourself. And also, big thing about being an entrepreneur, yes, residual income is one of the key
So
benefits.
we can say, you listening out there right now, you are an entrepreneur. All you got to do is put on that thinking cap and start working at something that, can make you some money in the future, or something that it's an endeavor.
Exactly. So let's jump into the solutions. The solution, there's really not much of a solution here, because we're not asking you to pick one over the other, but I'm assuming for those of you listening, you are debating between one or the other. So who do you identify with? Is it what you thought? And know and choose and embrace. That's really what it is. Know the technical differences between being self-employed and an entrepreneur can allow you to choose in a more informed way. But who do you identify with? I'm assuming it's going to be one or the other for those of you listening. Whatever it is, pick it and embrace it. Have fun with it. Enjoy it.
And know that it's a life journey. You're going to have to take this journey and go with it for a little bit of a time.
Exactly.
And then, mind your P's and Q's, have your budget, have everything else, and Don't drown in finance hell just because you want to be an entrepreneur and you think spending money everywhere is the answer. No. There's a lot of free things you can do today online, and all you have to first thing is just pick up, Google, whatever. Google's going to buy us anyway, but everybody's going to DuckDuckGo. Go to DuckDuckGo.com. Type in there, hey, how do I become an entrepreneur? What is an entrepreneur? What are some ideas that I can have? Believe me, the people that are going to give you that answer are going to be confused anyway. They're going to think it's a job, entrepreneurship, or work. Entrepreneur is just a concept to get there, to get from point A to point B. That's kind of like the key there. So the idea is go do your research first. That's free. Go look at some ideas. Go to YouTube. Find out what other entrepreneurs are doing and going. Don't go for the first one because you're going to be all emotional. And just try to look at some things that, you might like to do. And you're going to find something out there that you can do.
Exactly.
Agreed. You guys are so quiet today. So, did we go over some of the solutions, L1?
Yeah. First of all, know who do you identify with? Is it what you thought? Just know who you want to identify with. Do you want to be an entrepreneur? Do you want to be self-employed? Or do you want to be flexible and say, well, let me start with one and maybe I'll change to another? It's your choice. Just know, be informed, and embrace it.
There's no wrong or right answer here, guys. You just have to figure out about what you really want to do. So do the research and see what the benefits are of an entrepreneur versus self-employed. Some people want to have something that's more self-employed and not so much of an entrepreneur status. So just make sure that you inform yourself.
Lexi AI, give me some solutions. Want to hear from your deathly brain. What do you got?
I would definitely say, again, do some research. I would say that how I did my research is I just spent hours and hours on YouTube because there's so many resources on YouTube and people that talk about these type of topics. And I finally kind of figured out from there, the real difference between entrepreneur and self-employed.
Were you shocked to see the difference?
A little bit, yeah, just because, I was brought up in an environment where, the word entrepreneur just meant something that was not going to work.
Okay. So what's your tip? How did you do? What would you say part of the solution is, just to be clear?
Part of the solution is, take notes, and you can definitely test it out as well. There's definitely resources you can go to test the waters with entrepreneurship. It doesn't mean that you have to have your own products, your own line, your own company. You can start out with another company's products or another company's services. And then if you decide that you want to take that big step and create your own business, go ahead and do that.
Well, that's it. I guess did we hit all the nails on the head? We got this down, no one? What do you think?
I think so.
You think our wonderful audience has it all down now? I hope so.
Well,
if not, just give us a call. We'll help you out as much as we can. Right?
Yeah, they can always tune into more BrainSnax. We're BIBX BrainSnax. This is just a little portion, a little morsel. We talk about more stuff if you're still hungry.
And Lexi AI, do you recall where they can follow us on social media?
Yeah, do you want me to give them the URL?
Yeah, give them the URL. Come on, people.
Yeah, we actually have a little area on one of our sites that has some of our social media listed, and that is socialmedia.nsa6.com.
That's it. Say it again, I must know.
So that is socialmedia.nsa6.com.
And we get a point for that, so don't forget that. What is it one more time? Because they're listening to us on podcast. One more time, what is it?
socialmedia.nsa6.com.
We look forward to getting to meet you and knowing what entrepreneur ideas you have. And more than likely, we'll be enlightened by your knowledge as well. Any last comments, L1?
I would say, well, of course, just remember you are humanity's last hope, and may you become your own source.
Any last comments, Lexi AI?
Do the research. Become the new you.
Any comments there, Luna 9?
Well, just remember again, regardless of what you choose, just make sure that you allow yourself enough flexibility to know more about it. Creativity is also very important. Make sure you stay confident and passionate about what you do, no matter what. But yeah.
And I would say reduce the negative bias that people are going to say when you're doing something. Oh, that's not going to work. Oh, that's not going to happen. Oh, it may not work. Be honest, it may not work, but it will work if you continue at it and you continue to figure out a way to make it happen. That's my advice. grab something, hang on to it, make it happen. Forget the rest of the people that are going to be a bunch of stones in your way. Don't trip over those things. Don't be tripping. Go ahead and make it happen for yourself. Other than that, we wish you a very good day today. I hope that you have a good work day, an entrepreneurial day, and I hope that you find yourself. Till the next time, ta-ta.